Start.
Hi, today me and my friends will be presenting about the cognitive and metacognitive strategies in writing skills. So the group member is Eliza, Ashwini, me, Durga, and Narvin Kaudilan.
So these are the purpose of our video. So the first purpose of our video is to understand the meaning of cognitive and metacognitive learning strategies. And another purpose of our video is to learn on how cognitive and metacognitive strategies are implemented in the writing process.
So now I'm going to explain the metacognitive strategy. So what is metacognitions? Metacognition, it is an appreciation of what one already knows together with the correct appreciations of the learning task and what knowledge and skills it requires, combined with the ability to make a correct inference about how to apply one strategy's knowledge to a particular situation and to do so efficiently and reliably. Metacognitions literally means about thinking. Metacognitions involve thinking about thinking, being reflective about your learning and thinking process. So metacognitions involve two distinct components. The first one is knowledge of cognitive process. Number two, self-regulation of cognitive process, effect and behavior. For example, consider the task of remembering a phone number. You're remembering your friend phone number or your friend's house address. You know that it is difficult to remember the phone number or the address. So what will you do? You will write down in a piece of paper. So it's hard to remember. It's the action is we call metacognitive knowledge. So you write it down in a paper. This action we call metacognitive self-regulations. So there are 5 metacognitive strategies for writing skill. The first one is plan or organizer. Plan is the keyword is planner. The strategy planner we use before beginning the task to set goal, to plan the task or content sequence, to plan how to accomplish the task and preview a text before you're giving the activities to the students. You will go through the text, go through the activities. It is suitable for the students. Set the goal before you start the activity. The second strategy is monitor or identify the problems. The keyword is check. This strategy we use while working on the task to check your progress on the task, check your comprehensions as you use the language. Do you understand or not? If not, what is the problem? So you identify the problem. Second one, check your production as you use the language. Are you making any sense? Yes or not? If not, what is the problem? So here in this strategy, you identify the problem and check everything is okay or not before you after you plan the activity and you check whether is everything okay or not and identify what is the problems you're having. The third strategy is evaluate. The keyword is ID. This strategy we use after completing the task to assess how well you have accomplished the task, to assess how well you have used learning strategies, to decide how effective the strategy were you used before, and to identify the changes you will make the next time you have a similar task to do. So the rest two strategy, Narvin will be explained.
Manage your own learning. So for manage your own learning, as we can see, the main point is pace yourself. So what we can learn from here is what we know from here is for manage your own learning, we have to determine what we have learned the best, arrange conditions that help you to learn, seek opportunities for practice, and also focus on your attention on the task. As for the use background knowledge, we can see is that the point there is I know. That means we can think about and also use what we already know to help us to do the task. We can also make association between the new information and our prior knowledge. And we can also use the new information to clarify or modify our prior knowledge. So these are the 2 points for the two main strategies.
So the example of the usage of metacognitive strategy in writing, the first strategy is planning. So the planning strategy we used, as I said before writing. Okay, we use this strategy before writing. So there are two methods. The first method is draw a mind map. How to use, okay, how we going to use the mind map? Mind map is to, okay, put the main idea or topic in the center of the map and add the related ideas in the branches. When we going to use mind map, when we gather all the ideas, why we going to use a mind map? To help brainstorm and organize ideas. The second method is use a visual organizer. How to use a visual organizer? To display and organize ideas logically in a table, a chart, a diagram. So when we use visual organizer, when a lot of ideas have been generated, why we going to use this? Because to establish logical relationship between ideas to facilitate drafting. Okay. And the second strategy is monitor or identify problem. This strategy we used during writing. So the first method is check the relevance of content. First, pause, think and check whether the main ideas and supporting details are relevant to the topic or not. So when you use, when a lot of information is included in a draft, so you will use this to check it's relevant, it's related to the topic or not. So why we check? Because to modify the content to align it with the topic. The second method is grammar. Check grammar vocabulary using online resources. How we use? Check whether grammar and vocabulary are correctly used with the help of online tools. So nowadays we know there are a lot of online tools are available. So when we use this, when we attempting a new grammatical structure, vocabulary items, when you find out in the essay the new vocabulary, new word that you don't know, understand, and the grammatical rules you not understand, so you can refer the online tools. Why we need to check the grammar and vocabulary? Because to enhance accuracy of language use. Number three strategy is evaluate. Evaluate strategy we use after writing. So the two method, one, evaluate what I did well. Reflect on writing to discover the strength. So in your writing, you will discover your strength in the writing skills. After when you find out the how well you did after receiving teachers' feedback. Once the teacher's done everything, go through your essay. Go through your mistake, correct your mistakes, everything, so you know, so in which part you are in good, in which part you need to improve. So why? Because to build confidence in writing. The method two, evaluate what I did last. Reflect on writing to see which aspect you need to improve. This before the next piece of writing, before you start the writing, you evaluate first in which particular aspect you need to improve, because to provide new goals for subsequent writing. So that's all.
For the second activity, what we can do for the other two points, which are manage your own learning and also use background knowledge. For those 2 points, what exercise that can be done in the class. For the first one, before writing, I plan to do a jumpstart journal. So what is a jumpstart journal? Jumpstart journal is a routine writing activity that takes place at the start of each class meeting or discussion. So what students will be doing here is the students will be asked to bring a journal or a notebook with them to every class. And at the start of class or discussion, teacher will pose a question and give them 5 minutes to write down their response. teacher might ask, what are your goals for today's activity? Or how did today's reading change or expand the way you think about something? So the students prepare response, and that can be used to jumpstart a discussion for the next activity. As for the next activity, I plan to use force field analysis. So what is a force field analysis? Force field analysis is an analysis activity that asks students to identify the helping and hindering forces affecting their movement towards a specific goal. So what students will be doing here is students will be asked to identify an educational, career, or financial goal to provide a description of what success looks like. So students will be asked to chart out hindering forces and helping forces that will affect their movement towards the goal. Next, students have to articulate where they currently are in the terms of reaching that goal and steps that they can take to accomplish it. So after writing, what students can do is the activity that I'll be doing as a teacher, I'll give them an index card takeaway. So what is the index card takes away? It's a quick end of class activity that asks participants to reflect on what they have learned on that day and plan how they will act on the learning. So what students will be doing in that activity is teacher will provide each student with an index card. On this side, it will be given them an identified key idea or concept that they have learned on that day. And on the reverse side, they'll be asked to identify the next step. For example, how they plan or implement what they have learned in a project or a future course. Like how will they use the today's lesson that they have learned to future planning or future writing. So that's all from me.
Okay, I'm going to explain about the cognitive. So what is cognitive? Cognitive strategies are one type of learning strategies that learners use in order to learn more successfully. People use such strategy all the time, like writing a note to remember an important fact. For some students, cognitive strategies must be explicitly taught so they will be able to consciously think. This includes repetition, organizing new language, summarizing new meaning, guessing meaning from context, using imagery of memorization. All of these strategies involve deliberate manipulation of language to improve learning. For example, a learner remembers new words by visualizing them represented in a memorable or ridiculous situation. This makes it easier and faster to recall these words. So the 5 cognitive strategies are, the first one is paraphrasing or summarizing. For example, we can ask students to paraphrase and summarize important concepts in their own words and on ongoing basis, preferably at the end of every major task. The second one is asking question and making prediction. For example, having students predict what a test or quiz question might be from their notes. This can get into helping students understanding the learning outcome of the class. The third one is annotating, is where a student noting important ideas from the content by highlighting or underlining passages in their textbook. We should encourage students to annotate their reading on their class notes. Think of it as a conversation between them and words on a paper. The fourth one is using imagery for memorization. For example, students are given a word. For example, the teacher gives them a word courage. So they immediately picture in their mind like how it looks like and how it is shaped like, which makes the memorization more easier. The last one is reflection. For example, we can use a variation of the 1-minute paper. At the end of class, ask students to write down what they have learned, what was confusing, and what steps they will take to solve the confusion. This shouldn't be used in every class, but on weekly basis and with some kind of follow-up, perhaps presenting on what they found confusing and how they solved it might be helpful.
So moving on to the examples of cognitive strategy in writing. One of the example is the cognitive strategy instruction. As you can see in your right side, this is the POW3 strategy. So this strategy is basically a research validated strategy. So it contains two elements, which is POW and tree. So we'll start with POW. POW is actually a mnemonic device designed to help students structure any kind of writing. Whereas on the other hand, tree is also a mnemonic device which students can use to organize their ideas. So when they combine these two elements, the POW and the tree strategies, students can combine and address the first three elements of the writing process in order to create persuasive essays. So next. So these are a few examples of activities for cognitive strategies in writing. So the first one is usage chart, whereas the second one is illustrated word. The third is predicogram, and the fourth is word association, and the fifth one is synonyms, and the sixth one is association chart. So when we look at the first one, which is the usage chart, usually during this activity, students are given a list of vocabulary words. So what they're supposed to do with these vocabulary words are students have to sort them out into their own categories. Like for example, it could be a person or a thing. So they have to categorize it properly. Whereas the second activity is predicogram. So predicogram is a bit similar to the usage chart as well. They are also given a list of vocabulary words, but in this case, they are required to complete a chart. Whereas the third and the fourth, which is the the illustrated word and the word association, these two are almost similar as well. They are also given vocabulary words and students have to sort them out into their own categories. Whereas there's one activity that really caught my attention, which is the fifth one, which is association chart. So basically this activity, students are given a list of vocabulary words and students have to write something very close to that word, which they associate with that word. For example, it could be rain or tiger or a flood, something like that. So based on the words that they get, they are supposed to associate with another word and create a sentence. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, as for the conclusion, cognitive and mega cognitive strategies. So for cognitive strategies, as we can see, they are used to help an individual achieve a particular goal, while mega cognitive strategies are used to ensure that the goal has been met in ways that promote higher level goals and values. Metacognitive experience usually precede or follow a cognitive activity. They often occur when cognition fails, and such as the recognition that one did not understand what one just read. Such an impulses is believed to activate megacognitive processes as the learner attempts to re-certify the situation. So megacognitive and cognitive strategies may overlap in at the same time strategy, such as questioning could be regarded as either a cognitive or a metacognitive strategy, depending on what the purpose for using the strategy may be. So that's all for me. Thank you.